I want to thank you all for coming out tonight. It means a lot. I've got some really important things to talk about tonight. I'm going to tell you the top 11 best Star Wars vintage Kenner droids, at least according to me. Now, when it comes to 3PO, R2-D2, I mixed them together, being that there were different versions of those, but I put them together. You know, R2 had original R2 sensor scope, and then later with the lightsaber. 3PO, of course, was updated with removable limbs. I decided just to link those as one separate figure because, one figure altogether, instead of doing like 3 different R2s. It's just, the update was so minor, I didn't think it really mattered all that much for such a serious video. Now, this list took me about 2 years to make. Took it very seriously. I did a lot of research. I didn't want to just pull up 11 pictures of the droids and talk about each one. I wanted to kind of have a reasoning of why this is my top personal list of all the droids related of all the droids ranked. Some people are going to say, what about the probe droid? I don't really count that as a figure, but I guess it is a droid and maybe he should have been here. That's for you to debate in the comment section below. But the probe droid is not on this list. I see him more as a playset accessory, like I do the R2-D2 with the third leg. So, I don't want to waste any more of your time. I've wasted a lot of it already, so we'll just start with number 11 on the list, which I guess you could say is the worst Star Wars droids action figure. Although, to be honest, even the bad ones are kind of good. But let's start at number 11 with Def Star Droid. This is just a cousin of 3PO. It looks like if you have 3PO, you really don't need this figure. One thing I always hate about him as a collector is that the black panel on his shoulders and sometimes on the eyes, they seem to rub off pretty easy. It's hard to find one in mint condition. In fact, the only one I have in my collection isn't mint at all. Someone colored it in with a marker, and I didn't realize that until I bought it and already home with it. And I can remember my mom found out, and she's like, "Somebody marked this with a marker," and I was like, "Well, it's okay. It'll be okay." So it holds me over until I can find a good mint and Def Star droid. Another thing about this droid that kind of throws me off is his name. He's seen in the not the trash compactor. Sorry, it's been a long day out there. He was seen in the Jawa Sandcrawler, hanging out with the Jawas, although his name is Def Star Droid. You're thinking, well, it was a droid that looked kind of like him on the Death Star, but that droid was all black. I really see no big play value in this figure. If you had other droids, if you was at the local Zaire's or Revco and you saw this, you would probably say, well, just give me another droid. If all they had was droids, you probably wouldn't pick this one. So number 11 on my list, the worst of them all, is Def Star Droid. Now let's go 10. Number 10 is one that I wasn't sure where to rank it, but then when I started ranking them all, he did end up at number 10. And I don't think he's that bad, but I don't think he's that good either. Just doesn't have much play value, and we're going to talk about FX number 7. Now, I'll be honest, as a kid, I did play with this figure quite a bit, but I always made him do other things. He was refueling ships, he was working on ships, he was a medical droid, he was just an all-around droid, whatever I needed him to do. My only really problem with this is that his arms that extend from his waist area, I guess you want to call it, they don't really pull out that far. If they pulled straight out, probably could have had a little bit more play value, but they always just came out about this much. Where if you forced it out farther, you probably could, but you could risk breaking it. A Star Wars toy that breaks easy would definitely be at the top of the list for sure. He did have a third arm right in the middle. but it really served no real purpose. So FX number 7 is number 10. So now we're going to move on to number 9. Probably the most controversial one on this list right here. The one you're probably saying, Junkman, that one needs to be somewhere else on the list, but I put it personally at number 9. And we're talking about that R5 unit, R5D4. That's right, R5D4, the robot we all know with a bad motivator. Again, we're not talking about a bad figure. It's designed pretty well, looks pretty well compared to the one in the movie. But if you have R2D2, I really see no reason for this figure. It does, out of all the droid figures, probably has the most screen time, not counting the main 2 droids. So there is that, which could put it farther down someone's list. It's not bad. It's good if you're building a droid army or something, but overall, again, I think if you had to pick a droid and you were at the store, R5D4 was not one that you would pick straight up. So let's go to number 8 on my list. Let's go to number 8 on my list here. This is the one that I think you all may agree with here. It's more on the medical side, droids again. We're talking FX number 7's best friend, 21B. That's right, 21B. What do I think about 21B? This was one I studied for a while. I looked at it, picked it up, held it in my hand. I looked at it for probably about 10, 15 minutes. Then I flipped it over and looked at the back side of it. Another 10, 15 minutes. Studied it. Wrote down some notes about it. Compared it to the one in the film. Looked at its microphone-like mouth. Held it up to the light. Took it outside so I could see it in the sunlight. It's a nice looking design droid. It's not bad, but play value, it does come with a little stick that you can add to his hand, which does add a little bit of features to it, because some droids came with nothing at all. But overall, it's not a bad droid, but certainly not in the top 5. I wish it was. I did, try to rank it lower in the top 5. Like I said, I've worked all the stats I could, wrote down everything I could about it, and tried my best to get this lower on the list, but something had to be number 8, and it is 21B. So now we're going to go to number 7 on the list. This is a droid I think most of you may like a little better now that you've seen the Book of Boba Fett, and I gave it away right there. You know I'm talking about 8D8. But we have to judge this droid based on his toy from the 80s, not that he's in the Book of Boba Fett and is a badass bounty hunter on that show, kicks a lot of ass. We have to look at it from a child's point of view back in 1983. It's thin, it's white, as a collector it turns yellow pretty easy, but I'm trying not to rank these in a collector's mindset, more of a kid at the time. 8D8. His name's simple. It's one you remember. It's easy to write. It's 8. Then it's a D. And then it's another 8. So if you know how to do 8, you're already halfway there. It's pretty easy to say and write. I like that. But he's pretty thin. Comes with no accessories. That put him up at the top of the list. He's just not the best droid of the group. So number 7 is 8. The 8. Number 6 is from the Power of the Force collection. I believe, off the top of my head, is the only figure released in 1985 as part of the Power of the Force. When I say Power of the Force, of course I mean 1985's Power of the Force. I'm not referring to the Hasbro Power of the Force in 1995. That's not vintage. So if you're thinking of putting in the comments some figures from the 90s, this is just Kenner Vintage Era. So number 6 is EV99. It's always strange that the Jabba droids have 88, 99, similar names, but he's EV as in evil, so that should tell you right there. Of course, I know it's a female according to the novel, but I always call it a guy. Sound like a guy to me, or maybe I'm just sexist, who knows. As a collector's point of view, it's a nice looking figure. It looks like some real detail was done. It looks like a lot of work went into it. As a collector also, I would put this at the top of a list of bad things to collect or hard to collect because his arms break off. I don't understand that. I never read this one as a kid, I don't know, but his arms always break off. It's hard to find one with arms that's not broken off. I wonder why that is. Arms are so thin. The joints are so thin, it just doesn't stand to the Kenner standards. But looking at this more as a figure, and although I didn't have this one as a kid, how would I have liked it as a kid if I did? And I'm gonna put him in number 6. I do like that he has a little button on the back of his head. I guess it's not a button, more of a switch. You press it down, makes his mouth open. So that's a pretty unique feature. I like that. I like when they think outside the box and do something a little different. Now, it's time to start the top 5. And I'm going to start number 5 with the droid I like, and I see a lot of hate. I see a lot of hate from the fan base on this droid. I see a lot of people calling him by the wrong name online. But we're talking the Power Droid. The Power Droid. I like this figure. As I said, it gets a lot of hate. One of the original, not original 12, but one of the original Star Wars figures from Series 2. A lot of people call him Gunk. Or Gonk. I don't like that. Maybe that's his name in the EU or something, but to me he's Power Droid. And he always will be Power Droid. I do like this. Even as a kid, I liked it. He was just different. He was unique, so it made him fun to play with. He wouldn't fit good in some of the ships, I guess. In the cockpit, you couldn't put him in the cockpit of the Falcon or the X-Wing or anything. His legs did make a clicking noise when he went back and forth, where they're trying to recapture that sound he makes in the movie. It doesn't really sound like it, but it works. It makes a clicking sound, and I like that. Again, I like when they go out of the box and do something a little different, so making the clicking feet sound is something neat. He has a little rubber tip at the top. I don't think of any other Star Wars figures of this era that has rubber tips on it. It would come off very easy, especially if you like to chew on it like I did, or pull it out with your teeth. But Power Droid, he gets a lot of hate online and from the fan community. But I think Power Droid is one of the better Star Wars Kenner Vintage droids. So that starts this top 4. Kind of a controversial one at number 4, probably. A lot of you guys out there would say I'm mispronouncing the name. I call him Zuckus. Call him Zuckus. That's a Z-U, a C-K, followed by a U and a double S. Zuckus. Zuckus is a bounty hunter droid. Some of you right now are at your keyboard angrily typing that his name's 4-LOM or 4-LOM. But no, his name is Zuckus. I know later West in Games swapped him around with the blessing of Lucasfilm. I did a whole video on that. We won't get into that today. We're going to talk Zuckus. He's a bounty hunter, has a little screen time. He's cool looking, but being that he comes with a big old rifle that's unlike any in the Star Wars line, that has a little play value with him. If you're playing with your Star Wars figures as a kid, you could always have him and Boba Fett and some of the others team up to capture Han Solo, Captain of the Millennium Falcon. Or you could use the Rebels to try to track down who has Han Solo now frozen in carbonite, and you could use this Zuckus' droid in your storyline for that. I like his name. I just like saying it. It's really fun to say. Say it. Say it with me. 2, 3, 1. Zuckuss. It's a lot of fun to say. Zuckuss. I really like that. So let's go to the top 3. The top 3 here. I think number 3 is probably... no one's probably surprised. Let me dump that ash right there. No one's probably surprised with number 3. You'll probably agree with me. You know, if my grandmother made this list, she would probably put Darth Vader or a Stormtrooper at number 3 because she thought they were robots. I remember she asked me, are they robots? At first I was like, they don't call them robots, they call them droids. But then I thought, well, Luke does call them robots in A New Hope, so maybe it's okay for her to call them robots. And even as a child, I thought it said oil on the back of the Stormtrooper. It looked like it said that to me, so I thought, where they put the oil. But this is definitely a robot, droid, whatever you want to call him. And I think you know who I'm talking about. It's another bounty hunter from the Empire Strikes Back collection. It's IG-88. Comes with 2 weapons, 2 pistols, a rifle and a smaller handheld pistol. I don't remember the film if he had 2. I'm pretty sure he did. He has a little screen time in the film. Most is Zuckuss. You know, it's one of those blinking you might miss him. Go to the bathroom, you'll never know he was even in the movie. Reach over and get popcorn. Reminds me of my uncle. You reach over to get popcorn out of that bucket and you would get more than popcorn sometimes. Funny man, funny man. But IG-88, he may not be much to look at, but he is a nice looking droid, and he is IG-88. He's a bounty hunter, so again, that has play value. So let's go to the top 10 now. The top 2. And I don't think the top 2 is going to throw you off. It's part you probably hadn't talked about them, so they've got to be here. So number 2, best Star Wars Kenner Droid has to be, without a doubt, C-3PO. Now again, I mixed him and the removable limbs together. It's a nice looking droid, kind of gold finish. Wish they painted one leg silver, that would have been nice, but they didn't do that. But it's still not a nice looking figure. There's no way to play Star Wars Adventure as a kid without having a Star Wars 3PO in your collection. It was a must-have. He's part of the original crew. When you think Han, Luke, and Leia, sometimes people forget 3PO. But he needs to be there. He's in all 3. In fact, he's in all the Star Wars movies except maybe Solo. So you have to have 3PO. He can do about every scene. As a kid, I'll admit I wasn't the biggest 3PO fan. It's grown on me since then. I think Anthony Daniels that plays him has a really love for him, and it's really great choice to pick Anthony Daniels. I can't imagine anyone else playing 3PO. But overall, figure-wise, it's a great looking figure. Even if it has removable limbs or not, it's still a great looking figure. And that leaves us with number 1. And I'm sure if you stuck with this video by now, you know what number 1 is because I haven't talked about it. And it's probably the most popular droid in Star Wars. And of course, I'm talking about the lovable trash can himself, R2-D2. What can I say about this droid that hasn't been said over the years? I can't add much. Everything's ever been said about R2's been said multiple times. In person, online, in Star Wars conventions, standing in line to see the new Star Wars movie. Everyone loves R2-D2. The smallest young Star Wars fan to the oldest. They all love R2-D2. And all this one might not be exactly like the one in the movie. It's pretty darn close when it comes to old Kenner Star Wars toys. And it's just a nice looking figure. It's iconic. It's probably one of the most iconic vintage Star Wars figures there is. small, one of the smallest figures in this line. It has a dome. Of course, later he came with a sensor scope, but I'm not sure if it's the sensor scope that he had on Empire or it was the scope that he had on Dagobah. They look different. It looks like the Dagobah one, but the card looks like the one from Hoth. So I'm really confused about that. They updated him again in 1985 with the Power of the Force collection. They added him a green lightsaber with a little, it's kind of bubbled at the end. I guess to hold it inside the R2 better. I don't know why they did that. It would be cool if they did a spring action. That would have been a lot of fun to have a spring action. But you know how Kenner felt about spring action toys. We all know that from Boba Fett. But this is probably this is by far one of the best figures from the Kenner collection. Not only is it #1 of the droids, if you did all the figures all together, he would probably be in the top 5. Well, that's a look at my ranking of all the vintage Star Wars droids action figures, all 11. Well, it would have been a little bit more if I counted R2 and 3 separately, but I didn't. Hopefully you've enjoyed this list. Let me know in the comments below what you agree and disagree with. Let me know, maybe I should have put the 3PO and R2s with the different features as separate figures. But I think if I did that, they would all have been like linked and ranked together, so there was really no need in that. I'm working on a list of the Kenner Bounty Hunter figures. I've been working on that. Guess it's been it's almost this February will be 2 years working on that list. I hope to have it up by the end of the year. That's a hard one to rank. That's a hard one to rank right there. The Bounty Hunters for the vintage Star Wars collection. But I will have that up for you, like I said, by the end of the year, I hope. Anyway, I want to thank you for watching. This is the Junkman with my top 11, or my ranking of all the Star Wars droids figures, I should say. I want to thank you for watching. If you don't mind, could you hit that thumb up so you know you like my content? And then also, so you don't miss any other videos, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell also, and until the next video, we'll talk again.
Hey, Junkman channel popping though.
Thank you, sir, for that unsolicited testimony.